took what I want, but you find that everything they've got, you step forwards to my shadow, you are follow in my pattern.
Hello and welcome to the Ladies' Room, and today is going to be great because my partner in crime is here with me, Geralyne Lewandowski, my director, my showrunner, my everything all-around partner in crime. And Geralyne every year does a huge event at Oshawa Hall called Art Groove. And it is truly groovy because it's a dance party, it's art, it's sculpture, it's poetry, it's everything. And it's always a huge success. So Geralyne Lewandowski, today, our guests and Geralyne's guests are Hans van de Bovenkamp, who is a fixture around here in the Hamptons. He has a bevy of sculptures around town. And Rosalind Brenner, who is a wonderful and very accomplished artist and poet. Not to say you're not accomplished, Hans. Hans has sold
gigantic,
world-renowned. He's sold gigantic stainless steel gates to China.
Yeah, but I don't do poetry.
Oh,
That's really
you're poetry in motion.
Poetry in motion.
Poetry in motion. So, Geralyne, what's Art Groove all about?
Well, Art Groove is basically a groovy art event that includes contemporary art, live music, and DJ dancing. It's a community event. The dancing part sort of brings everybody together, and each year we have close to 300 people showing up over the weekend. So it's a really wonderful event, and this year it's happening April 13th and 14th at Oshawa Hall. This will be the 9th year that we're doing it. So next year is going to be big 10th,
Wow.
and for the show too. So we really hope everybody can come down and find out what it's all about if you haven't been there. Most of the people in Springs consider it the kickoff for the whole art season because Oshawa Hall has many art shows, and actually my friends this weekend were saying, yeah, we're waiting for your show because it sort of like launches, all the great events that happen there throughout the season. So,
how did you get the idea to do Art Groove?
Well, I came up with an idea to sort of do like a community thing and expand on the normal like gallery art show. So by adding music, bringing in other forms of art, sculpture, and also dancing, expression free.
We all need a place to dance.
Oh, we sure do. It's just self-expression. So also, I wanted to be able to sort of limit the number of artists so that everybody had a nice size space to display their work. Most people get 12 feet to show their work instead of just putting in one piece. Although throughout the years, Art Groove has gotten so popular that I don't have enough space, so I had to break down the space, and some people only have 6 feet this year, and that allows more people to show. I have 21 artists this year.
So I was going to ask you, how do you get artists to participate? But you have no problem. They all expect it every year.
Yes. Well, I look at art, throughout the year, go to different shows, and if something catches my eye and I feel the person has sort of the Art Groove feel, I'll invite them to come. But we sell out when I do send out the invitation to participate. As most people know and have been locked out in the past, it sells out in maybe 36 hours.
I found out the hard way this year. I thought I was answering in the first hour, and I was so proud of myself. But I was seeing it at 2 in the morning instead of at 2 in the afternoon.
Right, and it was gone by then. But luckily, somebody couldn't had a previous engagement that they weren't aware of at the time. So luckily, Michael got in, and he's.
So who are the artists that are in it this year?
We have quite a list here. We have Beth Berry, Laura Benjamin, Barbara Bellata, Rosalind Brenner, Michael Cartacino, Yes, Nadine Daskaloff. And new this year is Paul Dempsey, photographer. David Geiser, who was the creator of Underground Comics. Pearl Golden, Phyllis Hammond. Joan Kreisky is also new this year. Frank Latour has been showing for the last few years, and he's the harmonica lead singer of the King Bees, who will be playing
They're great.
rhythm and blues Saturday night. He's also a Grammy winner, so everybody loves this performance. It's really not to be missed, and you're going to be in for a really good time. Michael McDowell's in it. Jim McGarvey's in it this year. He does portraits of, let's say, Freddie Mercury has a portrait, Janis Joplin, and George Harrison, and a few others I don't remember at this time. Joyce Raimondo's been in it almost from the beginning. She's my true blue art groover. And of course Hans is in it. This is about his fifth year.
You've had a film about you in it.
Yes, we showed the film. There was a documentary a few Art Grooves ago. That would be day 2 of Art Groove. So rounding out the list is Sarah Turnbull Jaffe and Charles Waller, Josephine Watuziak, and Mark Zimmerman. So that's quite a mouthful.
Yeah. Well, Hans van de Bovenkamp is quite a mouthful too.
And Geralyne Lewandowski is a mouthful too. Between the two of our names, we need lots of extra paper and lots of ink.
So what do you have to say for yourself, Hans? What are you putting in the show this year?
We have some Hans's slides. I don't know if
Geralyne, I trust her on everything. She's my curator and the financial officer of the.
So we both depend on her. I don't know, Geralyne, if I can share you. Is this yours, Hans?
Yes, this is
you're
Hans.
You're doing a lot of.
I think that's called Big Bang, isn't it, Hans? This is
cool.
great.
Wow. Very cool.
I'm hoping for one of these we have to talk about Art Groove Day 2 next. But
anything you want to say about these, Hans? What made you start doing paintings?
Well, sculpture, it's really my art.
Yeah.
And but that's very taxing physically.
Yeah.
And I've had a number of broken parts of my body which have all been repaired. And
this is the outdoor pieces, aren't they?
The outdoor pieces are gigantic and beautiful.
Yeah, and when I didn't have enough money for the right equipment, I did it all by hand. And I carried a lot of these things by myself, and that has done a lot of damage. But you're catching me at a good moment right now.
All right. Well,
it's all held together by tape.
Which I was going to say, you can't see the puppeteer strings that we have attached to it right now, but he will fly out of the studio at the end. So, how long have you been participating in Art Groove?
4 or 5 years.
Yes, yeah. He's our star, one of our stars.
Well, they're all stars.
We're all stars.
They're all stars.
And what projects are you working on now? Are you any international shows or?
Well, I'm very blessed. I have a show in the Netherlands.
In Amsterdam?
Amsterdam, in a very important park, and it's usually for 3 months the show. But they like my work so much they asked me. They do this every 2 years of the whole Netherlands, and so this was my coming back to the Netherlands.
Nice.
People didn't know really who I was. And so it was very nice. And now I'm one of the Dutch artists in Holland.
Finally?
Yeah, finally.
Where are you from originally?
Yeah, from the Netherlands.
Yeah, I know, but which part?
Exactly in the center of the country, where there is an enormous park called the Kröller-Müller Museum.
The Kröller-Müller.
It's an outdoor
Don't
museum.
mention the name Müller.
And when you go there, they give you a bicycle, and you can ride through the park and visit the sculptures. And I was born at the entrance to this thing, to this park.
Do they sell crullers at the entrance in the morning? Crullers and coffee?
No, museums don't sell work. They like to receive work.
Oh, true that. I like the free work.
but it is wonderful to show in the Netherlands because I feel when I'm there that I feel very Dutch again. You know,
Like a homecoming,
Well,
right?
how-
get
Yes.
to eat the herring.
How close, where you were born, how close is that to Amsterdam? Because you must have hung out in Amsterdam when you were a teenager.
Half an hour.
Hour,
Yeah.
close.
Half an hour. Yeah,
That
but
is close.
one day I told my parents I'm leaving, and I was like 17 or 18. I don't remember. They said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to Amsterdam to school." They say Amsterdam is a very dangerous city. People get killed there. And I said, "Well, that'd be challenging, you know." And so I hitchhiked to Amsterdam, rented a little room with a very old family, and I went to architecture school.
Wonderful.
That's amazing.
And I had a great time. That's the show that is on right now, and I'm going there in May if I get Geralyne's approval.
You have the approval.
And then now I'm working on a very exciting project, but we're still in it's a competition, but we've come up with is really fantastic.
And is it in Las Vegas?
It's
or-
in Las Vegas. It's a memorial for the 58 people who were killed at the concert. And some guy from the
my.
top of a hotel shot
we all
and
know.
wounded about 500 people.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
So they did these memorials that only took a few hours. You know, they just threw things together with photographs and a pair of shoes and some rocks.
Yeah.
So we went the other way. We went looking at a bunch of memorials and looked in books at memorials. And to do like a world-class memorial is a whole different thing.
Sure.
So I do
enormous.
this together with Denise, my partner, and then we worked with an architect called Nick Martin. Very well-established architect here in the Hamptons who has won many prizes. And so our presentation is completely virtual reality.
Wow.
So you can go around
It's
this.
amazing. It's amazing,
And
yes.
it's been very costly to do this, but
It's going to be amazing.
it would be, you know, but it's a competition, and the friend of the governor probably gets it. So we're trying to become friends with him now.
Amazing. And isn't Denise like designing jewelry out of your
Yeah, she
sculptures?
takes my very large sculptures. She can make a sculpture that is 4 inches from a 40-foot piece.
Wow.
And so it is kind of fun because she can hold
And it's beautiful stuff.
20
I've seen it,
sculptures
yeah.
in one hand. I need a crane and a few helpers. You know, Geralyne has worked with me for close to 20 years.
But she's never carried any of your sculptures.
Oh, the
just-
small ones.
She
I
just
know.
cleans
she
up,
does. She
cleans up your
picks-
computer and does your
No, she picks things up.
Yeah.
And then I have another person working with me, Kevin Miller, who's been
Sure.
with me for over 20 years.
Yeah.
Both of them
He's a
know really more than I do.
He does
but
the fabrication, right,
Yes.
in your studio.
he is a genius.
Yeah.
So
Well, if you've never noticed Hans's property, it's on Merchant's Path. There's a little horse ranch, and there's a big pond, and there's sculpture everywhere, and it's very beautiful. And also in front of Meisel's building in Watermill and one
Yes.
in Bridgehampton, the big stainless steel, beautiful sculptures are Hans's.
We have a beautiful book
So-
of Hans's work as well.
Beautiful book. So enough about you, Hans. Now,
Okay.
Rosalind, what have you
What
been
can
up
I
to?
say after all that? I
Anything
mean-
large?
Well, my next book is coming out,
All
and
right.
that's really wonderful. I don't know if holding it up does any good, but this is not the actual finished cover. It's not a book yet. So it's called Every Glittering Chimera.
I think if you held it up to that camera,
This
they
one
could
here,
probably
this one?
focus in.
Yeah.
That's
in on
not
it.
going to be the finished cover. It's very close, but not that. That's a painting of mine on the cover. And it includes drawings of mine inside and my poetry.
Okay.
And it's being published by a wonderful little poetry press called Blue Light Press. And I'm very excited about it. It's people take everything as autobiographical, but I would say in poetry, but I would say that it's based on my observations of people's lives, of my own. Of course, it incorporates things that have happened, the world. It's a sort of a broad,
Eclectic.
yeah, a painting of the expression of how I feel about things that I've seen. I mean, that book is like my paintings and like your art groove and your work is very deeply from the heart and from observation and from years of experience and living, and a lot of women's issues, a lot of issues about what's going on in the world, and also personal issues, motherhood, that kind of thing, making art. What's that about?
What makes you make art? How did you start making art? What got you started?
Well, early on when I was pretty young and just out of school, I was on my own. I was a single mom, and I knew I was an artist. I had been playing a little bit with ceramics and painting. I was actually working in theater a little bit as acting, but my life changed a lot, and I knew that I wanted to do something that was connected to creativity and being a creative person, because I couldn't help myself. That's what I had to be. And I discovered, I took a wonderful course at the Brooklyn Museum in stained glass. And
That's interesting.
it was so interesting because I
go
found
into it.
that I loved working with my hands. My father was a milliner, and everybody said he had golden hands because he would create these,
didn't
he
use
practically
mercury, did he?
dreamed. Say again?
Didn't use mercury in his hats, did he?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But they used other things in those days that they don't, that are not so good, like egret feathers and things like that,
sure.
But he was very, very creative. My mom had a great eye. So I always felt myself to be kind of a right brain, lefty kind of person and artistic. And I loved the idea of stained glass. And that summer I did it. And I took to it so well that a friend of mine said, why don't you teach it in the adult program in New York City next season in the adult program? I said, I'm just learning it now, but you know what? I needed to work. And I took the job, and I was like one page ahead of them, and I taught it for many, many years. In fact, I'm now teaching it at the Art Barge in summers, and it's so much fun. And people really enjoy it.
Stained glass, so people can go there and take your class.
So it started there, and the reason that I took to that, as well as that I loved doing it, I loved the way the light and the color and just the process, all of that. I loved all of that about it. But it was a way that I could make a living, maybe, because I was in Queens, and in Tiffany's day, not only was Tiffany in Queens, but there were many, many imitators and many people who opened studios in.
Tiffany started in Queens.
Yep.
All these people who started in Queens.
I started in Queens too. Anyway, I started in Brooklyn.
Something about this.
But anyway, there were many, many, many opportunities for repair and restorations, and I had my kids, who were little kids at that point, put flyers. I have 2 sons, 2 grown and 3 grandsons now. So they put flyers in people's houses where I saw stained glass. Put a flyer here. That's literally how I started, and in the penny saver.
Let's get to your art.
Okay,
so how did you get?
Well, you have to, in order to make stained glass, and the business grew, and I'm still doing it. I just finished a gorgeous ceiling in a house in East Hampton, and I'm doing now a glass wall for them. Beautiful home.
Wow.
The reason that I got to painting,
was
that I had to do a little painting to show the people what they were going to be getting, and I was kind of playing around with painting anyway. And of course, I love to paint as well. So, that's really where it came from.
That's cool.
So this is my magic woman. I'm working figurative abstraction these days, and it's just an all-encompassing expression of my hand, my heart, my joy, my love of color, my exuberance when I'm actually painting. And people who own them or see them and like them tell me that they see more and more in them, and they're moved by them, but they make them happy.
Yeah.
And that is very, very cool, I think, because my poetry's can be a little darker, but the paintings they're joyous, and that is a definite reflection of how I'm feeling when I'm working in my studio.
So do you feel like your style of painting fits right into Art Groove and the whole?
Yeah, I think Geralyne chooses unique artists. I very exciting. What
Yeah.
her curating is, she picks really exciting work.
Certainly a colorful
And
show.
it's
Yes,
a
it is.
always
It's groovy.
In love with color. And I just feel also, besides her being a great curator and it being a wonderful show in terms of the art itself and the people who are participating in it, and its community too, and that's really wonderful. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
And this year, there's a whole other added dimension in that Sunday you're doing a benefit for Ellen's Run.
Yes, it's called the Heart of Art Groove. We had a graphic. I don't know if you'll get to see it, but I've assembled. There we go. The Heart of Art Groove. That's Sunday. It's going to be an afternoon tea dance, art sale, and show. It's going to benefit Ellen's Run. We have really wonderful artists participating in that. In addition to Rosalind and Hans, we have Stephanie Brody-Liederman, Connie Fox, Darlene Chernenko, Scott Bluedorn, David Slater, Patton Miller, Anthos Zacharias, Dalton Portela. Michael McDowell will be in it. Anyways, there's at least 30 more artists. So that combined with the 20 of Art Groove, we're going to have about 50 pieces, and 50% of all sales will go to Ellen's Run. The other 50% goes back to the artists, because artists need to be supported as well. So I've tried to design this. Here's some slides from past Art Group. You can see the fun and the energy that's there because of all the people that show up and just have a really good time, as Rosalind said. There's Hans and Phyllis Hammond.
It's Michael's art. Yeah.
Oh, Michael Cardicino, your wonderful husband.
Charles Waller, Anahi DeCanio, David Geiser. There's a piece of Hans's from last year. That's Frank Latour, and that's Laura Benjamin. So
it's great that 50% of the money goes back to the artist, because the term "starving artist" is,
exactly. That's why
artists,
it's great to
living
donate.
in the Hamptons.
The sales are few,
In
the
these great
sales are few and far between.
But it's also, you get asked a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
often
Yeah.
it's just donate,
Right.
donate,
Yeah.
donate.
Yeah.
And the cost of
Exactly.
making art,
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
sculpture,
a tube of
stained
a little
glass,
tube
a
of
painting,
paint is like $60
Yes.
for a tube this big.
and the
Paint.
canvas
People don't
and the
understand.
paper and the,
And the
Yes.
frame
and everything
and the
else.
time. and
That's
the
why I
time.
didn't want to ask people to donate completely.
Right.
The charity will get a benefit, and the artists. Now, where the artists are also donating is they're pricing their pieces very attractively. So
do you
you're
try
going to
to
get
keep
some
it
great
under $1,000?
under $1,000 for
Yeah.
the. It's
Okay.
going to be a select group. Everything in
Yeah.
Art Group isn't necessarily in this
Right.
in this thing, but there will be at least 50 pieces for sale in this grouping. And I mean, it's almost like the who's who of the Hampton artists showing pieces. So
Really?
you're really going to,
We're like
you
that.
really have to come in. We're going to have an afternoon tea dance, and
What fun.
so we'll be, dancing to some Motown and disco, and also, looking at great art and
it's
supporting a
beautiful.
good cause. And it'll
Yeah.
be Sunday afternoon, and hopefully the sun will be shining and the birds will be singing.
It's spring, and it's spring.
The children will be
it's
running
so
around
wonderful
on the
that
lawn.
you honor that mastery that comes with years of experience and of hard work
Yeah.
and vision and all of the things that go into making an artist that stays with it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of kids go to art school and then they, I don't know, they go to Wall Street.
right.
Go into banking.
Wall Street,
Right.
exactly.
But I think we need to say when it is.
Yeah,
I
when
don't
is
think
it?
we've said it. It's
You just said it
April
at the beginning.
13th and 14th.
April
Okay.
13th
And,
and 14th. What time is the opening? 6 to 8? Or?
The opening is 6 to 11, or whenever
Well,
they
right.
throw
Starts
us out.
at 6, but the dancing goes, right
And what's the
through.
date on the opening?
The opening is April
April
13th, and the gallery opens at noon, so you can come and see the art before the whole show starts. And then
great.
on Sunday, it'll be 11 to 6. That'll be April 14th, and the actual benefit starts at 3 p.m. till 6. So it's going to be a really great weekend.
And your show in Amsterdam opens when?
May 4th,
Oh,
May
so-
15th.
So get your tickets now. Plane tickets. If you get
Wouldn't
them
that be
early,
nice?
they're a little less
God,
expensive.
if only.
It's so interesting what Rosalind said about where does the art come from? You know what I mean? Where does it really start? The very first inkling of the art. And I think I was brought up very religious. And I think in religion, for me, it is all mystical. It's mysticism.
Everything's
You know,
mystery.
and I think to bring that into your art, away from the worldly things, you know, but
Yes.
really
Comes from the spirit.
it comes from the spirit. So basically, and Geralyne will know because sometimes we have to find names, and she's great with titles. But all my sculpture, although it doesn't sometimes read immediately, but all has a spiritual connection somewhere.
Yes,
You
I
know-
think great art
Yeah.
has
Has
that.
to connect
You
with-
feel
with
that,
it.
that
On-
and,
on a
and
lot
your
of
viewers feels it, and you feel it as you're creating it. I'm not saying great art
Yeah,
here. I'm
because when
saying
you
great
look
art there.
at your paintings of the cover of that book, you know, it's not about an apple, which we recognize. This really, the color brings you into a certain state of consciousness. And that is a beautiful state to be in because we don't always can verbalize it, but we feel it and we see it.
Yes.
And I think that in good art, we should have that. It should be a reference to something outside of, you know, what people expect.
Yeah.
Well, speaking about verbalizing it, I'm going to sign off a little early so that Rosalind can read one of our poems. She's going to read us out.
Oh,
So
really?
thank you
Thank
for
you. These
tuning
glasses
into the ladies' room. Thank you to Geralyne for her constant companionship with
Thank you, Judy.
with this show.
Yeah, thanks to Judy for
see you
making it all
next-
possible.
See you next week, and here's your poem. What's the
Okay,
title
so
of the
this
poem?
poem was written after I read this by Oscar Wilde. No great artist ever sees things the way they really are. If he did, he would cease to be an artist. What that means, you can interpret. It's called hashtag L13, named by some archaeologists who found in Blombus Cave, Cape Town, South Africa, 9 red lines on a stone flake, 2 thumbnails wide and long, red ochre lines deliberately drawn 100,000 years ago. Symbol and message, say the archaeologists, of the ancient crisscross pattern. A drawing in deep ochre hues with handcrafted crayon, colors scooped from clay-rich earth. Was there purpose in the design, or was it doodling? We'll never know the intent of the ancient, almost human artist. Perhaps he thought to make himself immortal with an abstract picture of the way he felt that day. Decided he must make his mark before he slaughtered dinner. Did he feel linear in the sameness of his daily life? Was he cross? Was it fear he sketched of quick annihilation? He may have known that what he saw and drew was his own dream, that he himself was interlude and unimportant. So he scrawled a painting on that flat rock wall, something that would remain, form without a definition, without a name, bewildering to cave mates who didn't understand. No accolades withheld or granted then. There was no word for greatness. He couldn't know his little sketch would not be seen again until a stumble on a dig 1,000 centuries later. The scrap reveals his being there, his fleeting life, his art, the contents of his feelings, released by means of handmade paint in that prehistoric moment, one inspired and cryptic day.